Welcome back to another Beyond the Prompt teaser. This time, Jeremy and I sat down with Leidy Klotz. And it's one of those conversations that start up with design, but then it actually ended up talking about how do we make decisions. Because Leidy did this really interesting study. When we try to improve something, our instinct is to add a feature, add a meeting, add a tool, and now, of course, add AI. Leidy made this interesting study where he said, well, why does nobody ever think about taking something away? And he published the study. It was on the cover of Nature, and it was super fascinating. Now, our question was, what happens when adding becomes frictionless, when you with AI can do anything? And so we talked about organizational bloat and about deciding small guardrails in your company and in your life to protect what actually matters. The full episode is already live. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name's Leidy Klotz. I'm a professor at the University of Virginia. I'm the author of two books that don't talk about AI, Subtract and In a Good Place. And I'm really excited today to talk about how the ideas in those books relate to AI.
Jeremy Utley.
Henrik and what do you
Uh,
think?
as we talked about, like, I had a good friend who passed recently, and I think, as we were talking off air on this, and I'm listening to this, like, I am really a victim of my fascination of AI and its seductive nature. And so what I think really hit home for me was what I think is the task for at least myself, but I would imagine for a lot of other people, of figuring out how do we create an architectural environment around ourselves that allow us to have a balanced relationship with this magical technology, but still not have it suck us in for time, not have us suck us in for laziness of thought, not having sucked in for biases that we have in the world that is encoded into the technology and all these different ones. So, I mean, like, he was inspiring and had incredible energy. And I always kind of like pretty humbled by being able to have a conversation with somebody like that. But for me, actually more profound because it suddenly was an hour spent and the vocalization of this kind of feeling that I haven't expressed, which is, hey, I need to probably start to create guardrails for my own behavior with AI. So,
Mm, mm. Yeah, the notion of protecting ourselves against our, baser impulses, perhaps, or are at least not to say base, but a very natural impulse to doing more. And I love your examples around having your agents check in with you. Hey, it's kind of getting close to bedtime. Are you sure you want me to do this? To me, just to pay you a compliment, it sounds like you're already beginning to architect some of that environment. And I realize with your friend's passing, there's the additional kind of weight of thinking about this question: are we living right? And I think it's actually funeral or no funeral, memorial or no memorial, we're all going to face that day. Our lives will come to an end. And thinking, are we spending our time in a way that we will be proud of, I think is a really important question. And I thought the example of, your date night ritual with your wife, could you be more productive? Probably. Could the world get more startups out of Henrik if he spent his Friday nights supporting entrepreneurs? Probably. But it almost makes me wonder, what is Henrik for? To
hmm.
just to put it to you, right? And one thing is, yeah, sure, to facilitate and to unleash entrepreneurship, but I think another is to be a husband to your wife, and you have to, in an age where it's so easy to keep commissioning agents to build more startups, to say one thing an agent cannot do is be a husband to my wife.
Hmm.
How do I protect that which is irreducibly mine? I think is a question on everybody's minds.
And that resonated a lot. I mean, like, I was making the joke with my wife the other day because, like, I had installed OpenClaw and I was excited about it. And I called my agent Iki. And then I was lying in bed before bedtime and I was like, hammering away on my phone talking to Iki. And she goes, "You rather want to talk to Iki right now than you want to talk to me." And I was like, kind of. And, it was a joke, right? But, like, also horrible
Mm,
because
mm,
obviously this kind of synthetic thing that I could talk to at any time. So I do think it is very important. And I do also reminded of, so at Autos, the startup that I do that help entrepreneurs, we are building thousands of startups. And the other day I had a journalist from The Economist be on, and we went through this whole process, and we built his startup, and we started to run ads and had the first potential customers come in. And in the middle of it, he goes, "Yeah, I can see how this could be a business, but I don't want to make this."
Hmm.
And so I
Hmm.
think, and I alluded to it also in the conversation, I do think that we are at this interesting point where we have to articulate our principles and our narratives, because we have to be able to tell it to the bot so it can help us become a better version of what we would, the version that we'd like to be. I had this phrase, you asked for a phrase called, your narrative is your source code. And I
Hmm.
do think that we as humans have not necessarily had to define our source code, our being,
Hmm.
our values, because we never had anybody that could help us as fast and could basically move us forward as fast as this technology. And I really think that without taking stock of, would I want to build this startup? Is this a startup for me? Or would I like to write this email in this way? Or would I like to push
Hmm.
forward this idea, whatever it is? And then, we'll go wherever the model will take us instead of where we would like it to go.
Yeah. Knowing oneself has never been more important. And I love actually the mechanism of a mantra or a motto, something that's, pithy, repeatable, almost sing-songy in quality. I think as we think about being parents, having mantras like the space before screen, I love
Mm,
that as a
I love that.
mantra. I love default dead. I love structures define outcomes. I think it's important that we codify these, and they can't be universal values, or else they're already in the model. They have to be particular. They have to have unique resonance with you personally, your family. And that's what in the entrepreneurial space, you'd probably call founder market fit or something, right?
Mm,
But personally, it's about alignment
mm.
and growing in alignment with our values, which I love. One other thing I want to highlight from the conversation is this idea of system instructions or custom instructions to tell the model, or to invite the model's assistance in helping you think in the way you want to think.
Mm.
If you don't want to fall subject to the addition bias, why not tell the model that you actually want to look for opportunities to subtract? We have an amazing uh, thought partner now that can help us stay honest to, it's too late to be deploying another agent right now, Henrik. And if we'll take the time to actually codify that and instruct the model, we actually get help being more of who we want, which I think is quite cool.
It's kind of a subtle thing, right? But I think when you talk about custom instructions, I think a mental model we should instruct the AI to be in a specific way. It's where the object is the AI. But as we're realizing, of course, AI is more like electricity. It's a foundational technology. It's not like the web. So it's not like I used to have a magazine. Now I'm going to make a magazine online. And so I think the reframe is really, the instruction is ironically not about the bot. It's about me. And so I have to basically look at it as a mirror and saying, when I instruct you to do stuff, what do I look like? And I don't know, for me, it sounds like a pretty profound reframe. I know it's subtle,
It's huge.
but I do actually think that most of us have not thought in this way.
Yeah, I like that Odysseus framing of
Mm.
knowing my own self, therefore, how am I instructing you to behave? I think is kind of what's interesting is think about the Iliad. I mean, it's is it the Iliad or the Odyssey? One of the two. I don't even know. But it's kind of an ancient story, and you go, of all the paradigms to be drawing upon now, we're drawing upon these ancient stories. It's because the things that have been true about us are even more true and even more amplified now that we have this mirror of all of human knowledge can be reflected back to us. What do I want of that? What do I want to be protected from? What's my unique, you know, constraint that I'm putting on it, so to speak?
Anything else we should add from this conversation? Thoughts?
I liked hearing about voice again. I really liked Leidy's characterization of Danish, or actually, you said this when we talked about subtract at the beginning. You said, done is when you can't take more away.
Yeah.
And I think that's a principle that could be widely relevant to many listeners. Done isn't when you can't add anything more, it's when you can't take anything away.
There's a link I should show in the show note. It's a clip from the TV show Bear, the chef show. And there's this one scene that I send to my design teams all the time, which is basically where he comes in and he's being taught something and he basically gets yelled at. And then he writes on a note, it's just subtract. And then he puts it down there. And it is such a beautiful scene. I'll share it with you and with the listeners also.
Please do hit the link there if you enjoy it. And if you enjoyed this episode, hit the other link, which is write a review or leave 5 stars. If 6 stars are available, go ahead and hit that 6 star. We appreciate it.
And with that, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.